You are now ready to review the 9th chapter of Luke with this brief presentation. We hope that by reading the evidence concerning Jesus and his life in each chapter firsthand, you are forming your own faith as you learn more. Here is a quick overview of chapter 9. Jesus sent out the 12, knowing there was much work to do and little time in which to do it. His popularity caused Herod to inquire about him. Jesus fed 5,000 miraculously. Peter confessed Jesus as the Christ, then learned the cost of following a suffering Messiah. Jesus was transfigured before the inner band of apostles, then returned to the foot of the mountain to cast out a demon that his disciples couldn't. After he taught other important lessons to his disciples, he warned James and John against taking vengeance. He set his face toward Jerusalem and told his apostles that his visit there would mean his death. The chapter ends with the challenges Jesus offered those who indicated an interest in following such a Savior. The chapter began with Jesus sending out his 12 apostles on their own. He equipped them with power and authority over disease and demons, and they had learned from Jesus the message they needed to preach. Jesus told them not to be overly concerned with provisions nor the reception their message received. The bottom line seemed to be getting the message out, and the apostles followed suit. It may be that the apostles' activity caught the attention of Herod, who was perplexed because it was said that Jesus might be John the Baptist raised from the dead, or Elijah, or one of the prophets. Herod had put John to death because John opposed his adulterous marriage. Jesus was not John the Baptist, but it's ironic that he would indeed be raised from the dead. Jesus huddled with his apostles after their return, only to find that they had attracted a large following. Jesus used the occasion to demonstrate that he could feed 5,000 from just 5 loaves and 2 fish. In this case he demonstrated his power over quantity, able to make a small source of food multiply. Later Jesus was alone with the apostles and seemed intent on revealing to them more about himself and his mission. He quizzed them about who the multitude said that he was, and their answers were similar to those given to Herod. Either he was John the Baptist or an Old Testament prophet raised from the dead. When Jesus asked them about their own conviction, Peter hit the nail on the head. He said, "The Christ of God." The Greek term translated Christ is from the Hebrew term Messiah, meaning anointed one. The Jews had been looking for God's promised deliverer, and Peter was convinced it was Jesus. Though accurate in his answer, Peter's idea of the Messiah's role was probably distorted. Jesus warned the apostles not to tell anyone, apparently wanting to dampen any excitement that might already have existed because of the Jewish idea of an earthly Messiah. Indeed, he went on to tell them that the Son of Man would be rejected, put to death, but be raised on the 3rd day. And he made it clear that a true disciple must deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow him. Those who serve a suffering Messiah might well pay the ultimate price, their own lives. Such a discipleship was hardly the grandeur that the apostles might have pictured. 8 days later, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him up on a mountain to pray. Some think that mountain was Mount Hermon, pictured here, north of Galilee. When they reached the mountain, Jesus prayed while Peter, James, and John slept. As he prayed, Jesus' appearance changed, apparently into the glorified body that awaits after death. Peter awoke to find Jesus speaking with Moses and Elijah about his impending death in Jerusalem. Peter suggested building 3 tabernacles or dwelling places for these 3, apparently not knowing how to react. Instead, God spoke from heaven and indicated both his approval of his Son and the need to listen to him. As great as Moses and Elijah were, Jesus was even greater. As Jesus and his apostles descended from the mountain, Jesus was confronted by a man whose son was possessed by a demon. He asked Jesus to cast it out, since his disciples had been unable to do so. Jesus cast out the demon, then again tried to temper any undue excitement about his ability by warning about his upcoming betrayal. Jesus continued to teach his apostles important lessons. He told them again about his impending betrayal, but they did not understand. He greeted talk about position in the kingdom by teaching that a child must be treated as significant in his kingdom. He told John not to forbid one who was casting out demons, apparently by his authority, even though he had not been with them. Then, after at least 2 years of ministry spent primarily in Galilee, we are told in chapter 9, verse 51, that Jesus set his face to go to Jerusalem. The meaning is unmistakable. Having warned of the death that would meet him there, Jesus was resolute in accepting the sacrifice he was to make for all mankind. This was not so much a description of geography as it was the culmination of his mission. When Jesus and his apostles came upon some inhospitable Samaritans, James and John wanted to send down fire upon them. There was no love lost between the Samaritans and the Jews. Jesus corrected them by telling them his mission was to save, not destroy. Finally, Jesus warned would-be disciples that following him was a serious commitment. They might find themselves, as him, with no sure place to lodge. Other important events had lesser priority, even the death of a father. If they decided to follow him, turning back could not be an option. That concludes our summary of Luke chapter 9. The next section of Jesus' ministry in Luke is sometimes referred to as the Perean ministry. Much of the material in these chapters is unique to the Gospel of Luke. They will be richly rewarding for you. Remember, you may email your questions to us by selecting the questions link at the bottom left of the page. Type your question on the form and select Send. We'll have an answer to you as soon as we can. We hope these studies are helping you to become better acquainted with Jesus, and we hope the better acquainted you become, the more you appreciate him.